Before we begin today, I'd like to kindly ask that you pound that like button like a dark trooper trying to get through a blast door. And please subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. Alright, I'm not going to waste any time. You know what I'm here to talk about. You know that reveal that's been teased for weeks, and I kind of had it spoiled for me on Twitter. But it didn't really bother me because I kind of assumed this is what was going to happen anyway. And when I eventually did see it, I still had an emotional reaction to it. So take that for what it's worth. I'm of course talking about the much anticipated return of young Luke Skywalker in the final moments of the Mandalorian season finale. So the big question is, what are my thoughts on his inclusion into this story? So here's the deal. I've been highly critical of this show, and rightfully so. A lot of times it feels like it's just kind of spinning its wheels, and honestly, the plot has felt pretty weak to me. Just my opinion, but that's how I feel. So basically, I feel like we had to go through a lot of nothing to get to something more meaningful. As I already stated, I had a legitimate emotional reaction to seeing Luke in the end of this episode, in a similar way of how I reacted when I saw Vader in Rogue One for the first time. Now, I eventually came to not like Rogue One all that much because every time I've watched it since then, all I seem to care about are the Vader moments, and everything else around it is just boring to me. So I'm being cautious because this could be that similar situation with The Mandalorian. But I have to be honest, it was amazing to see Luke Skywalker in the way that I always dreamed of seeing him. And by that I mean in full Jedi badass mode. I don't know why it took Disney and Lucasfilm so long to deliver that, but we finally got it, if only for a few minutes. I was excited to see Luke. It gave me goosebumps. To see him cutting through dark troopers with his lightsaber. And then there's a moment where he actually takes one and crushes it with the Force. Like, this is what we wanted the whole time. Why haven't you given it to us sooner? Some people took issue with them making him a CGI young Luke, similar to how they did Leia in Rogue One, instead of just recasting him with an actor who might look similar to Mark Hamill. First of all, I have to say I thought the CGI looked much better in this than it did in Rogue One, so clearly that technology has progressed. Also, I think the fact that they use CGI tells me that this is probably not going to be a regular thing. You might see him from time to time, but I don't think this is going to turn into a weekly thing where we see Luke Skywalker training Grogu. Had they had recasted him, I would probably say they were probably going in that direction. To be clear, I don't know if there already is a show planned for Luke Skywalker, so if there is, let me know in the comments down below. Also, I think because this is the first time we see him in this way portrayed properly, that it would have been distracting and not quite as effective had you had somebody else in the role. Now, where this all leaves the show, that's where I have no idea. I've said many times that I doubt that they're going to separate Mando and Grogu for too long, because that's kind of the anchor that holds this show together and why people are interested in it. Which the way they left things between them, and I have to admit, their goodbye was very well done. It really feels like their relationship is done, at least for a while. If for some reason they do try to shoehorn Grogu back into the show, it's going to cheapen this great moment that they had between them. So it would seem that moving forward, more of the focus will be placed on Mando himself. And I'm assuming it'll have something to do with now his ownership of the Darksaber. Because now there's a conflict between him and Bo-Katan, because he basically swept in, stole her Darksaber, and kind of ruined her plans to basically take over Mandalore someday. Bottom line is I think the show will benefit from reestablishing focus on Mando as a character. There's no more Baby Yoda, there's no more using this show to launch other shows. I want to know the next chapter in Mando's story, like where does he go from here? They also pretty much removed Boba Fett from the show, based on the after credits scene, which was another high point of this episode, and it came in the form of Boba Fett arriving at Jabba's palace on Tatooine. Jabba is of course dead, but Bib Fortuna, his right-hand man, is basically taken over for him and now sits on his throne. That is until Boba Fett shows up and shoots him, and they pretty much kill everybody in the palace, and then Boba Fett proceeds to sit on the throne, basically making him the new crime boss of Tatooine. There was speculation that Boba Fett might take over the Mandalorian show should Mando die in the season finale. That didn't happen. Instead, we're going to get a spin-off in December of 2021, apparently, that's called The Book of Boba Fett. I've been interested in a Boba Fett show or movie for some time now, and I even thought that The Mandalorian kind of messed up by not making the show about him. But I remember originally they were pitching the Boba Fett story as a Western, and they kind of already covered that in this series. So perhaps they're taking it in a different direction now and possibly making it the first live-action Star Wars crime story. I could see this almost playing out like a gangster movie, with Boba Fett kind of having a power struggle with other people on Tatooine and slowly building his empire. So to sum all that up, for the first time in a while, I have some things in the Star Wars universe that are somewhat exciting to me. Do I have a lot of faith that they can follow this up and give us something satisfying? I'm not quite there yet, but I'm at least curious to see where all this goes. Couple other things I wanted to mention. I thought it was really cool how they slowly revealed Luke. You just kind of see glimpses of him at first. You see the green lightsaber, so you're led to believe it's him, but they don't actually reveal him until a few minutes later. Disney has finally, apparently, realized the importance of Jedi training, since they take every opportunity they can now to mention it. I thought Moff Gideon was much more interesting in this episode than he's been in the entire series. I thought he was very calculated and methodical how he approached these situations, and I just liked the way his character was portrayed. He just never really seemed to crack, that is, until Luke showed up. They played with the idea of perspective again in this episode, and it basically came in the form of a conversation between the pilot of the ship that they intercepted and Cara Dune. He basically tells her that he lost a lot of people too when the Death Star blew up. It'd be interesting to see if there's some kind of payoff with the little hints about the Empire remnants having this level of humanity. It should also be noted that the Empire remnants do now have Grogu's blood, so not really sure what they're going to do with that, but it could be leading to something as well. And last but not least, it was good to see R2-D2 is still hanging out with Luke Skywalker. Another moment that gave me some nostalgic goosebumps. I didn't care for this season as a whole, but the last few minutes of this episode kind of piqued my interest. So we'll see where it goes from here, and for the first time in a while, I'm actually looking forward to something Star Wars related. So did you see the latest episode of The Mandalorian? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Right on.